All right. Good morning. As you are coming in, make sure you're putting your name and association in. All right. So again, my name is Shonika Adams, and go ahead and put your name and your school system or the parish you support in the chat box. To prepare for this Zoom meeting, please keep your computers on mute, but of course you'll be able to unmute when the time comes. Bandwidth has not been an issue for us, but if you're comfortable keeping your camera on, that's great. I'd love to see your faces. And if not, you just choose the option to stop video. If you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat and we'll definitely get to them. And we'll also utilize the chat function so that we can have some dialogue. Make sure those that are coming in are putting your name and your school system or association in the chat box, as well as if you are just supporting a school, I see you. Supporting a system, put that association in as well. This webinar is recorded, so, and I'll also send out the slides to you all as well. Make sure that you are keeping your mics muted, but please unmute because we will have dialogue. And of course, we know that this webinar was created so that we can work together to facilitate a great Louisiana comeback. So today's agenda are introductions and sign-in. So remember to go ahead and put your name and association or school system in the chat box. We'll go over our monthly call purpose. And then I'm super excited because Dr. Judith Rhodes of LSU's SREC Social Research and Evaluation Center will be on to discuss our toolkit. Yes, your CWA toolkit and training. You'll get a chance to meet the attendance specialists that are going to help out with that and the opt-in information so that you can join that pilot program. We'll have our morning inspiration and activity. I'll do our presentation on home visit safety. And that's kind of to segue to tomorrow, which is the Louisiana Schools Safety Summit. And I sent you guys a link to register. And if it's asking you for a code, I will look at that and try to send that to you. So email if you're getting questions about a code to join. But I would just use the general registration to get through. We'll have an activity, Q&A, and a few updates. So of course, new to some, familiar to most, our focus this year and what has become our overall theme is enrollment, engagement, and encouragement. And right now we are already enrolling in that enrollment phase. We already know we're talking and engaging families, and we're already looking at at-risk kids from last school year and engaging those families now so we can help them get on point and start the new year in a more positive way. And the purpose of these calls is to cultivate a viable network for state CWAs so we can discuss evidence-based best practices and offer some more support amongst colleagues. The location is always going to be virtual because I need to make sure that we're having as much participation as possible and we're really working together. And the best way to do that and have everyone come in from across the state is using this platform. We meet every first Wednesday of the month unless something major is happening, such as testing, and you guys already know to shoot me an email and say, hey, let's push it back to the following week. And you know you're not stepping on my toes when you remind me of testing that's happening throughout the state. And of course, our time is 8 o'clock to 9:30. If you have any questions, comments, testimonies, please feel free to email me, shonika.adams@la.gov. All right, I'm not going to hold this any longer. I'm super excited. Let me introduce you all to Dr. Judith Rhodes from LSU's Social Research and Evaluation Center. Please give her a warm round of applause without unmuting. And she's going to share with us the Louisiana Attendance Alliance Initiative Toolkit.
Good morning, everybody. I hope you're all having a wonderful morning. My background looks pretty sunny, but I promise you it is a rainstorm over here at Baton Rouge. I am the director of the Social Research and Evaluation Center, and we are the research arm of the College of Human Sciences and Education. And I'm very excited to continue our partnership with the Department of Education and all of you. We've been working really hard to think and brainstorm about resources and initiatives and programs that will help you maximize your efficiency, maximize your impact for students, teachers, and schools. And attendance is really dear to my heart. My academic career really started around the issue of school engagement and dropout prevention. And we know that having kids attend school regularly, great attendance is so important for not only being successful in school, but life outcomes. I mean, the research is really, really clear on that. So taking all of that into consideration, we've been putting our thinking caps on to think, what can we do this school year to assist the districts even more? So this is the kickoff for the kickoff, because the toolkit really starts next month on September 7th. But Ms. Adams and we talked about, we really wanted you all to be aware of what this opportunity would be. So for the next 3 months, that for this meeting, the Attendance Alliance meeting, which is generally that first Wednesday of the month from 8 to 9:30, we are going to have a presentation from members of my team at LSU. Mainly it's Dr. Gwen Murray. Many of you have met Gwen, and one of our really stellar graduate assistants who is studying and to become a school psychologist. Also, Ms. Jada Thomas Smith. That's our core team, and they are going to be presenting a toolkit. The first toolkit is going to be an overview of all of the tools and resources that you will have at your disposal to improve your school and district's attendance trends. So what we are, the heart of it is that we will show you how to develop an attendance plan that may be for a whole school, the whole district, or maybe a grade level. Those are the things we're going to talk about. And this plan is going to be scaffolded on a multi-tiered system of support, which most all of you are aware of. So the same way that we use MTSS for academics, the same way it can be used for behavior in the schools, it can also be used to fashion an attendance plan. So that toolkit in 3 parts is going to present strategies and best practices that will help you and your schools, your teachers, your kids, your parents, your families to improve and support good attendance. And so there'll be many resources. And what we want to do is give you, build your capacity to do your job even better, because we know everybody's working really hard, but I know my team, we're always trying to sharpen up our skills and our tools. Next slide, please. So this program, for those, everyone will be able to participate in these 3 meetings. And what we are going to do is also have an embedded pilot for up to 12 school districts. And if your district opts in for this embedded pilot, you will have also access to attendance specialists. And these attendance specialists are individuals we have worked with in the past. They're really dynamic, wonderful people and organizations, and they are going to help provide assistance to you in your school. And that is going to be both some face-to-face meetings. They will come to your district, And they will also have availability really at least weekly to meet with you because we have all these great tools, these virtual tools as well. So right now they are here today. And so I would like them in turn to take 2 to 3 minutes to introduce themselves. You can start, Andrea.
Good morning. Good morning to everyone. I am so excited to be here to return with you guys as you return to the 2022-23 school year. I am Andrea Hayes, an independent consultant with LSU Shrek Department. I'm really excited about connecting with families and LEA partners. As a returning attendance specialist, I will be serving the southwest part of the state, which will encompass the greater New Orleans area, the Bayou areas up to Lake Charles. I plan to remain relatable with our families, and I want to emphasize that I grew up watching The Cosby Show, but I can relate to Good Times. Know that my mother was not an attorney or my father was not a doctor. However, I can relate to James, who was the father on Good Times, who overcame a lot of struggles for his families. Professionally, I work hard and I follow my heart. You know, I have over 30 years experience in the social service field, holding a master's degree in student services and counseling from Northwestern State University. My experience, abilities, trainings, working with families make me stand out because I've worked with a vast clientele from ages 0 to adults. Specifically, I've presented at FINS conferences, partnered with CASA programs, worked with federal programs, as well as worked as a behavior specialist in both Terrebonne and Lafourche parishes with EBDB students. Know that I'm prepared for attendance challenges and weaknesses from our families, but more so, I'm prepared to accentuate their positives and build on their strengths. I'm looking forward to working with you to bridge all and any attendance gaps that may be presented. I want to thank you in advance for allowing me to share with you today, and I'm looking forward to an awesome school year.
Thank you, Andrea. Nicole?
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another school year. I'm believing and agreeing with you guys that it's going to be a very successful one. I'm excited to be a part and just continue to be connected to the work that LDOE is doing, as well as LSU Shrek Department. I am the founder and executive director of the Bridge Agency, which will turn 6 years old on August the 23rd. Built it from the ground up with the purpose of connecting families to resources. I have a history of working in local government, worked specifically with Mayor Kip Holden, leading federal programs during his administration. Also had the opportunity to work with law enforcement as in their community policing division. And I also chair the Police Athletic League, which has recently relaunched here in our city. Our goal, of course, is, like I said, connecting families to resources with the purpose of addressing the social drivers of crime, of which poor school attendance is one of those drivers. Over the past 6 years, we've built resources and relationships from EBR school principals to charter school principals, local government, and even more. But one of the things I'm most proud about is that every summer we host free camp opportunities for our young people, and throughout the school year, intimate sessions with young people in schools to hear their input on what they need, because a lot of our challenges a lot of times come from the fact that we don't engage our young people in the process of what they need to be successful. And so over the summer, we have collected a lot of data. We have some testimonials from young people where they are sharing with us what they need to be successful in school throughout the academic year. And I'm looking forward to bringing that information and that knowledge over to these partnerships and even our conversations with you guys as well. So yeah, looking forward to working with you guys. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And look us up, follow us on Instagram and Facebook, The Bridge Agency.
Thank you so much, Nicole. And our third attendance specialist that you're going to meet today is from the Briggs Specialty Group. Mr. Lamar, are you on this morning? I see your name, but I don't see your face.
Yes, and I apologize for that. I'm having some issues with my computer on that, and rather than start punching buttons and mess everything up, I just left well enough alone. But can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much for the opportunity. We're very grateful for it. I echo the same feelings that the previous two ladies were talking about. Not much more I can add to that. Specifically about Briggs Specialty Services, we were founded in 2013. We currently employ 27 people. Our service area is Rapides, Grant, LaSalle, Avoyelles, Wynne, Catahoula, Concordia, Vernon parishes. And the programs that we do now, we too are returning attendance alliance specialists and looking forward to get started. Some of the programs that we provide through our business, of course, the Attendance Alliance is one of those programs, but I'm also the Families in Need of Services Officer for the 35th Judicial Court, the Schools and Community Program Coordinator for the Grant Parish School Board with focus on attendance, youth programs, and mental health. We also have through our agency, Kids Matter 2 after school program for Grant Parish students. We have a life skills training program for those 6 of those 8 parishes I previously named. And we also just introduced a crisis intervention team youth de-escalation training for those same parishes where we go into the schools and teach teachers and principals about de-escalation. And I'm also a deputy with the Grant Parish Sheriff's Office, worked with them on juvenile issues, kind of retired, but went back a little bit, do all their youth programs and camps. And in summary, we have many partners that provide many resources, and they enhance our program. So together, our goal is to help children achieve their education, grow, and become successful adults. And I think Amanda's on. She's key to this program for me. So Amanda, feel free to jump in.
Good morning. Hey, I'm Amanda Cully. I have worked with Lamar Briggs for over 10 years now, and I've kind of started with him with his program over almost 10 years ago. I cover the central Louisiana region, and I also have worked with the FINS program for going on 7 years now. I was attendance specialist this past year with the SHREC program. I have a master's in psychology and child development. I've been working in the field for over 20 years. I'm currently I'm in a support role with Lamar with this program. And then I'm also a supervisor for an agency out of Natchitoches called Youth and Families Empowerment Services. And we do multi-systemic therapy. Been doing that for 8 to 10 years. In addition, we work on improving attendance by improving the home and school link, helping with basic needs, looking at barriers to attendance, increasing pro-social activities. And we cover the areas of Rapides, Grant, Vernon, Sabine, Wynne, Natchitoches, DeSoto, Red River, and Benville Parish. And I'm really excited to be here working with this team again.
Thank you, Andrea, Nicole, Lamar, and Amanda. As the group here can see, these attendance specialists bring a broad range of skills, experience, to this project, and we really felt strongly that we needed to include community-based dimension to improving attendance. Many of you work, in schools, and it's not a siloed job to make sure families, schools, kids are doing well. We need to work with one another, and these individuals have really enriched our professional life here at SREC working with them, and I know anyone who's going to work with them is really going to be pleased. So thank you to the attendance specialists for continuing to run down this road with us. I'm going to talk a little bit today because this is the kickoff to the kickoff. You'll get more information, but this is what the Attendance Alliance Toolkit will include. So if your district decides you want to opt into the more intense pilot services, which will include working with one of these attendance specialists, there are some requirements because we want to maximize our resources and make sure they're used well. This is an investment from the Department of Education, and so we want to maximize that investment. So for those that are going to participate in the pilot piece, they do have to attend, it's mandatory attendance at the 3 Toolkits, which were the first Wednesdays of the month for that hour-and-a-half meeting. In addition to that, the pilot districts will have to have participation in these Toolkit office hours. These are going to be 3 one-hour technical assistance sessions where those 12 pilots will meet together with us and some of the specialists to assist you in refining and making sure all parts are going to work in your attendance plans. So these are the 3 dates we wanted everyone to see, kind of pencil these into your calendar. These probably going to be 8:30 in the morning, from 8:30 to 9:30. You will also have opportunity to have consultation with the SREC team for at least two 60-minute consults. So once you've gotten familiar with the tools, you've developed your plan, just talking through that with our team we want to make sure that you are maximizing your efforts. So the expectations for those that are going to participate in the pilot is they have to opt in, and that can be done through contacting us. Again, you have to attend all 3 Toolkit sessions and the 3 office hours. And your attendance plan is going to be due by September the 14th. So those are the expectations to be able to participate. So if you have any more questions, and if you're ready to sign up with us, you can email us at this address, attendance@lsu.edu. We've been talking about if we have more than 12 districts that are interested, there will be a sorting process. We're going to look at need. We're going to look at geography. We're going to look at responsiveness, how people have worked with the department before. But we're really excited about this opportunity, and do reach out to us if you have any questions. We're working really hard to make these sessions interactive, dynamic, and engaging. And again, everybody can attend the 3 Toolkit sessions, but just up to 12 districts will have the enhanced piece. So Ms. Adams, that's what I have for today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Judith. Thank you so much to our specialists, Ms. Hayes, Ms. Nicole Scott, and Mr. Briggs. We appreciate it. Thank you so much for continuing the work with us with the Louisiana Attendance Alliance. And I look forward to seeing our toolkit as well. Remember what Dr. Judith said, even if you choose not to opt in, or you're not selected if more than 12 are opt in, we're going to use this time and those toolkit times as our professional development as well. So you're still going to receive the insight on that toolkit. And of course, the toolkit will be provided for use for everyone. And we'll learn to use it together as a team. Did anyone have any questions before Dr. Judith gets off? And you already know, she said, go ahead and, hey, send in your intent to opt in now, but make sure that your system and your superintendent or your directors over you are on board. But start sending in your opt-in notices today, because we want to be able to know who's going to opt in as soon as possible so that they can start making arrangements, especially with our attendance specialists. All right, so thank you again, Dr. Judith. Thank you again to our specialists. Thank you again to LSU Social Research and Evaluation Center. You guys, they have listened to my crazy when I call, because I have so many ideas and so many thoughts into how we can increase in attendance in Louisiana and also deal with the attendance barriers when it comes to our students that are specific to the state of Louisiana. So let's go ahead and get started with our morning inspiration. I wanted you to watch this particular video because it's something you may encounter when going on a home visit. And it's from one of my favorite content people. And we're gonna learn a little bit more on how we can deal with angry parents or angry families. So let's watch this together and then we'll discuss.
Now, angry parents and guardians are something that every teacher has to sort of work with at some point. And I don't even like to think of it as dealing with an angry parent, because dealing with an angry parent sounds like I'm dealing with a headache, and a headache is just something I want to get rid of. And it's not something that I want to work with. But that's what I want with parents. I want to work with parents. I want to be a part of the community, and I want to create a dialogue between us that we can work out, that we can help one another to help this child find success. And that's why I'm always working with parents and never dealing with parents. So a few tips that can actually help you make this something that anyone can do. So what I want to do is have you feeling empowered the next time you walk into one of these meetings. So here's a few tips to help you do that. One, whenever I get an email or I have a parent that just shows up in my classroom or in the hallway or in the office, no matter what the look on their face says, no matter what they say to me when they see me, my response is always the same thing. And that is, I am so glad that you reached out. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so glad that you wrote me an email. I'm so glad that you called. Because what that does is it takes you from defense to offense. It takes you from being worried and feeling like you have to defend yourself to saying, no, I'm glad this happened. Now, even if you're not glad it happened, even if you're scared to death.
Okay, so the scariest environment imaginable.
Just saying that you're excited, it's going to elicit a different response than someone that was expecting the opposite. And that's because of this. And the second thing I want to tell them is no matter what they say, what I want them to know before I say anything, before we talk about grades, before we talk about behavior, before we talk about anything that's happened, we always say, look, I want to have one thing be very, very clear in the beginning of this conversation. Your child's success is the only thing I'm concerned about right now. And the reason I say that to parents is I want them to know that I'm not concerned about my reputation. I'm not concerned about who was right, if I was wrong, if I have to stick up for myself, if you've got it twisted and the kid was lying to you and all of this stuff. The only thing I want as a teacher is to help that kid find success. Because in fact, education's only ever about the students.
You're shameless.
And that was an unintentional plug. I just happened to have this shirt on and then I saw it. So go to realrapwithreynolds.com now and get your shirt. Number 3 is remembering that parents know more about their kids than we do. Now look, kids might have really opened up to you. You might have known kids for a number of years, but in general, parents have raised their kids since birth. And if you're a parent, you know there's some sort of intuitive connection with your children oftentimes. There's a level of empathy and care there that teachers just can't have all the time. And this is a good thing, because what that allows you to do is ask parents certain questions that are going to help you to get to a place of a fuller and better understanding to help that particular child. And so I'll tell parents, look, I realize that as the parent, you know far more than any of us do in this room. And so what I'm looking for is a few things that are going to help us to meet your child's needs. And some of those questions are like, 1, what's the best class your kid ever had? Whether it was the teacher or the subject matter, something about that class made it just suck less than the other ones, even if they didn't like school. Or maybe that was the teacher that made them want to go to school. Maybe that was the class that made them want to show up because it was Tuesday and they were doing a lab and they loved that, or there was a class trip, or there was a special day because a teacher was doing something special in class. Every kid has that teacher at some point. And so by finding out who that teacher is, it's going to allow you to see what works for a kid. And then, of course, it's the opposite way. You're asking for a class where that student didn't find success. You're not looking for names here. So you're not asking someone to like put a teacher on blast, but you're asking for, what sort of behaviors don't work with your child. So I know as an educator, sometimes raising my voice works with some kids.
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
Sometimes not raising my voice ever is what has to happen to work for a kid.
There's no need to raise your voice, sir.
Sometimes it's private talks in the hallways. Sometimes it's keeping someone after class to talk to them. Sometimes it's calling a parent. There are a number of different ways to deal with students. But what you're trying to do as a teacher is to reach out to parents and ask them, hey, what has worked in the past and what hasn't worked in the past? And so before a situation even comes to a head, what's going to work and what's not going to work. And in that same conversation of questions that I might ask parents, one of those is, what do I need to know about your student that's not going to show up in an IEP, that's not going to show up in a 504, that's not going to show up in some sort of paperwork or something that I find out from another teacher, something that only you know that would give me a little insight into who your child is. And in just asking that, you're showing parents that you're willing to go beyond paperwork or reports or something so cold as that and just asking on a human level, like, what is your kid like? What are they not like? What has happened in their life? What's going on right now? What should I know about? In my experience, parents love that so much. It just makes them feel so much better because it's an expression of care that I don't think parents hear enough. And the last thing I think you can do when you're working with parents is leave them with an action plan. No one wants to hear a bunch of difficult things about their student. They don't want to hear that they just cheat, that they sleep in class all the time, that they don't do work, that they are not indeed finding success. But when you can leave someone feeling empowered so that when they leave, they know what to do. They know what they can do next. Walking out of here, they don't have to get in the car and figure it out, and it's yelling at someone and telling them they're going to start doing their work. You're going to start staying after school. You're going to make stuff up. It's letting folks know on the front end exactly what can be done. And that can be as simple as letting parents and guardians know when a child can come in for tutoring or when
All right. So it was very important to share that video to lead into our next presentation, which is home visit safety, because we know we'll interact with quite a few personalities. And I did want to share some insight on, if you're going to deal with an angry personality, there are ways that we can bring it down that that are applicable in the school. So I would encourage you to share that video with your teachers or your other district team members as well. Let's start off with this question. So utilize the chat, or if you're comfortable, unmute and answer. What is the most important tool a CWA can use when working with an angry parent/family member? Based off of what we've learned, what we know, or what you've seen in the video, what's the most important tool we can use when working with an angry parent or family member? The tools of listening, hear them out. Thank you, Ms. Scott. Staying calm. Compassion, starting out with how, let's see here, I like that. Starting out with how glad we are to have this opportunity to work with them for the success of their child. Empathy and calm demeanor, friendliness and open lines of communication, good communication and patience. All great answers. And actually, that's the truth. When it all boils down to it, when it comes to our work, positivity, yes. It's how we're communicating with our families. Think about it. We've changed so many things that we've done in the past, such as relatable good. So we've changed how we're communicating. Think about it. We're being more positive and more restorative with our language. We are offering up communications in a way that parents feel like we're not talking over their heads. And so that is one of our best tools, is how we're communication. And the next question I want to ask, what does partnership look like for CWAs and families? What does partnership look like? Perfect world. You're the CWA, you're partnering with a family that's having some type of issue with attendance. You're working in partnership. What does that look like? Oh, I do want to go back and read some of these. So Ms. Dismas says, state that you definitely have the child's best interest in mind. We always want to start with that. And Mr. Schaff, good morning. Thank you for reaching out. Thank you for coming in, calling and bringing this to my attention. Exactly. And of course, partnership looks like positive, proactive, and resourceful, honest, open dialogue. Yes, collaboratively coming up with solutions in a non-threatening manner. Yes, a family feeling comfortable enough to contact the school for CWA support before attendance becomes a huge barrier for the child. That is great. We've given the parent an action plan with specific steps to empower them. We follow up. Remember, you guys have an attendance success plan at your disposal. If you misplaced it, or it's too far back, or you haven't saved it, send me an email and I'll send it back to you, but we'll also make sure it's a part of that toolkit as well. We're all on the same page with the primary concern is the child. Exactly. That is all of these things you have shared. That is what partnership looks like. And we can actually combat dealing with are working with an angry parent or angry family member when we let them know that we're on the same page. And that page is making sure that they understand that the child, the student, is our primary concern. And that's the reason why we're making that home visit. Let's go ahead and get started. Today, we're going to talk about home visitor safety. I absolutely want to say this. Your safety matters first. We talk about the kids, but just like they tell you with the whole airplane analogy, you can't help the person next to you until you help yourself. So you have to put your mask on first and then help the person next to you. So I need you to make sure you're safe before you can go and advocate for families out there. So that was the whole point of having this particular session. And of course, having it today, because tomorrow is the Louisiana School Safety Summit. So I wanted you to have your piece and then of course, show up there as well with and gain more knowledge in how you can stay safe and also help our students and families stay safe as well. So when we talk about your safety, I want you to know that the whole goal is making sure everyone understands that school safety initiatives, they have to include extension services as well. And an extension service for a district is a home visit. And so we need to make sure that we're talking safety, and we're going to talk safety, and we're going to be comprehensive about safety. We have to talk about all aspects of education, and that includes that includes extension services, which is a home visit. The safety of all CWAs and attendance stakeholders is a priority, and a safe environment facilitates an atmosphere of effectiveness. Remember how I shared with you guys, we can't dictate the environment that a student comes from, but we can set the tone and atmosphere in which they walk into. So think about it like that as well. You don't know the environment you're walking into, but you can dictate the tone and atmosphere that it's going to become when you walk in as well as the professional. All CWA offices should have a home visit safety plan. If you don't have one, let's get one developed. And that's what this call is about, giving you guys a few pointers so that you can develop your own office safety plan and put it into action. And I'd love for you to share it with me so that we can take it, all that you've compiled, and I can use that information and create something to add to our resource guide, which is live. And you can implement your safety plan with the training of your new hire and also as a professional development or refresher for your team. Here's some foundational safety measures. So before you even do anything, these are some things you want to think about. Make sure your home visit schedule or calendar is up to date with the addresses and phone numbers. So think about creating some type of tracker for your team. And it's not to track the whereabouts of your team members, but more so for safety matters. So if you're tracking, for instance, if you create a tracker or you create a big board with your school system plotting out areas, start just plotting out where you're doing home visits, and you can actually see where there's a bulk of students, that might be having attendance issues. And that's when we get to reach out to our attendance specialists and see what in the community is acting as an attendance barrier for this area that we're having to do many home visits in. But it also acts as a safety net for our CWAs as well. If we know exactly where you're going, if you don't call in or show up, we know this is the place we need to let someone know that you went last. So it acts as a safety barrier, as well as a way that we can identify resources that are needed in a specific area. Schedule appointments during daylight hours. I don't think I have to tell y'all that, but I did want to make sure it was out there. Google Map and drive by a home prior to initial visit. Make sure you know what you're walking into. If you're uncomfortable with the area, partner up. That might be your team policy to make sure that all home visits require partnering. I know when I was in the field, it was okay. Once I figured out the area, I made a judgment call if it was something that I could do solo or if it was something that I partnered up with, and I partnered up with our family liaison. He always went out with me when, even if I felt like I could go alone, he thought it was great so that he could meet with the family as well. And it showed that we actually had a concern, not just for the student in attendance, but also for the family, how the school could be a resource for that family. Make sure your plan includes law enforcement agencies invested in community policing. That was very important for me. So even as a child welfare investigator for DCFS way back when, I received the Junior Deputy Award a number of times because I actually made relationships with officers, sheriff's officers, police, city police, constables, just to let them know that, hey, when I'm in the area, I just want you to know I'm here. Or, hey, I'm not familiar with this particular area. Do you have any feedback in terms of safety concerns I might want to be aware of? I remember having to call, and one sheriff's officer, I believe in Port Allen, when I went out in an investigation, they were like, and I was 7 months pregnant with twins. And they were like, well, we don't want you to go alone. So we're going to meet you there and we will do the knock. And of course, I didn't want that to happen because I needed that family to have a connection with me. But I understood that they recognized that neighborhood and they recognized the dangers for me. And we were able to actually have a productive interaction with that family. And we all felt safe in that moment. So I think it's very important for us to learn to team up with our law enforcement and not just rely on them when it comes to just being resource officers, but also remind them of their commitment to community policing. And this is how we can partner up and make sure that families understand that you're there to help, but also I know that you're there to help because you're providing this type of support with us as well. And of course, you want to make sure your vehicle is in good running condition. So that includes make sure it runs well, your tires are good, you're on a full tank of gas when you go out on a home visit, and you have some roadside assistance. And of course, we're still going back up to the first thing, make sure everyone knows where you are in case you do have issues with a phone or your car, or roadside assistance is taking too long. You can have a colleague come and meet with you or come and pick you up. So before leaving the office, you want to review the family information. You want to find out as much information as possible about the child, the student that you're going to see, and the family. Follow up with the school. What type of interaction did you have with this family? My guess is, and the hope is, if you've added this to your attendance matrix, if they are on your list to do a home visit for, when you call, that school should be able to tell you, we've called the family 3 times, someone from the school has actually gone out and they either made contact or they didn't. And if they made contact, this is what we learned. And we want to make sure you know that too. You want to make sure you provide logistics of your visit to your team. And that's what I was talking about, creating a team home visit tracker. And again, this is so that you can identify what areas that you're going to on a regular basis, but also safety precautions so that individuals know exactly where you are and how to contact you. So if they can't contact you on your cell phone. They know to call the person or the family where you're supposed to be as well. Make sure your cell phone is fully charged. Pre-fill all documents you may need the family to sign. So if you're going there with the intent to do a behavior success plan, go ahead and fill in that family name and information. Don't come up with your own plan for them, because of course they need to be a part of that process, but at least get some of the preliminary information written in already, because you don't want to spend more time out in the field at a home visit than you have to. And of course, gut check. And how this can happen at any point. What does that mean? Gut check. If it doesn't feel right, you don't go. That's why I told you to do your Google Map, Google Street View. If you've talked to someone, or even when you pull up and it just does not sit right with your spirit, call your supervisor or call into your team and say, this doesn't feel right. We're going to try to find another way to engage with this family. And that could very well be, we're going to keep calling, or else I'll have a police escort where the police stay in their car, and then I walk up to the home to initiate the visit. But please trust your gut when it comes to these matters. When entering the homes, check your surroundings as you arrive. You want to park in the direction in which you plan to exit. You never park in someone's driveway. I've done this again as an investigator, and of course when I was doing field visits for the districts. Never parked in a driveway, because you don't know who's going to pull up behind you, and you never are thinking that someone is going to intentionally do things to harm you, but you also are looking out for your own safety. When you're ready to go, you're ready to go. I don't want to have to wait for someone to come and move if they've pulled up behind me. I want to be able to leave out when it's time to go, and make sure your car is faced in the direction you're trying to leave and not facing a dead-end street or a cul-de-sac. You want to be already facing, ready to go. Check for animals before entering the gates. Matter of fact, check for them before you even get out the car. I know I look weird when I looked weird when I would get out of the car, because I would put my window down and I'd make little noises just to see if anything run out. And then I would get out of my car. But definitely if you're walking up to a gate, you want to check before entering the gate and look for notices. Because if there's a warning sign, see if a neighbor knows the family, can make a call, or else try to call them from there, and then leave your door hanger on the gate if there's an animal and no one is paying attention to your noises or your horn blowing, and leave. Again, your safety is priority. Explain who you are when they answer the door and show your identification. Remember what I shared, we don't want to look super official, because they've already equated us to being the people. So we want to explain why we're there. And I love that you guys have already shared in our chat that we're going to share up front. We're there because we're genuinely concerned about their child, their student. If you're invited in, allow the family member to lead. You never want to lead somebody into their own home. One, they're behind you. Again, we don't want to think negatively, but we again want to err on the side of caution. Keep them in front of you at all times. Always opt for a well-lit space close to the exit. Don't let them take you all the way to the back of the house. Say, let's stay up front and we can meet right here. And ask if anyone else is currently in the home, or if they're expecting company. And again, this is a safety thing, but to make them not feel offended, you can just let them know, because what we're going to be talking about is sensitive. I need to know if anyone else is in the home, or if you're expecting anyone, because I don't want to violate any confidentiality laws. During your visit, this is very important. Again, we want to empower families, and it happens with simple things, such as asking for permission to have a seat if they're sitting. May I have a seat? And have a seat. And that's something that I learned as an investigator. No matter what the house looks like, have a seat. They've welcomed you in, have a seat. Stay standing if they're standing, though. If they are going to stand up the entire time, you stand up with them. You never want them standing over you. Explain the purpose of the visit. Remind the family you're there to understand their barriers and to work with them to address the issues. So again, I'm not coming to your home to scold you or to remind you of truancy laws. I am there to tell you about the laws surrounding truancy, but also engage with you about chronic absence. So even if you're going to tell me that your child was out because they were sick or because you felt or because of something else happened that would make it excusable to them, we're going to remind them that any time missed out of the classroom is going to affect the child in a negative way. It's going to affect their academic success. So we want to talk to them about that and observe their abilities as you're talking and the environment. What I mean by that is, are they being showing aggressive behavior? Do they seem like they're under the influence? If they are, then go ahead and you want to go ahead and end the session right then, because you can't talk to anyone like that. You can't talk to anyone when they're you suspect them to be under the influence, and it might not even be drugs. They literally could have just taken something that helps with pain, or if they have sleep issues and they've taken something, or pain issues and they've taken something. You know, can you let me know when is the best time to come back? Or we can meet at the coffee shop up, you know, closer over here so that we can talk and we can both be alert. Also, that's the time, like I said, gut check. That's when, hey, if it doesn't feel right because they're exhibiting anger or aggressive behavior, you know what? It seems like this is not a good time. Let's wrap it up here. And like I said, I'm here for you and your student. So let's set up another time where we both can sit and calmly talk about this. And it needs to, and let them know, you know, when the next time you'll be there or when you'd like to meet with them again. Ending the visit. Let the family know what to expect next. If the expectation is the child needs to be at school tomorrow, then guess what? Tell them that right then, because I've seen where families had miscommunication when it came to what they've dealt with the CWA and what the school says. So the school probably told them, go home for 3 days for, you know, cool down period. We're not going to even put it in a system. Just go home for 3 days. And the CWA goes out and talks to the family. It's like, no, you need to go to, your child should be at school. If you haven't received paperwork, your student should be at school. That parent might say, well, the school said, so we need to tell them up front. The expectation is that your child is in full uniform. Do you have issues with your uniform? If not, your child needs to be in their uniform and at school tomorrow. Give them the date. Write it out for them so that if that child reports to school and the school has an issue, that child has something in hand that says the CWA said I'm supposed to be here. You call them. Too easy. Go through all forms you need them to sign. Make sure they understand what it is they're signing. Again, we're being very transparent. When it comes to us being more restorative in this work, we need to be more transparent. So go through it with them. Make sure they know how to contact you if they have additional questions. Have your keys already in your hands. Again, we're not looking for anything when we exit. So have your keys in your hand, have all of your stuff together. Alert a team member when you're leaving. So if you have a group text, and that's a great thing to have too. I know I have a group text with my teammates here. When I'm getting ready to go out in the field, I send out a message. When I'm coming back to the office, I send a message. I know that when I got to Dallas, I sent an email to our interim and our deputy chief of staff saying, hey, I already made it to Dallas. So, and I'm getting ready, or when I was getting ready to leave, they knew I was getting ready to get on the plane. So you want to make sure somebody knows that you're done with that visit. And then check the inside of your car before you get in, please. I watched enough scary movies to know you never get in a car without checking the back seat. So please take the back seat of your car before you get in. And when you're done, have meaningful debriefings. I learned that that is actually one of the causes of burnout for many professions. People are debriefing about what happened with the student, but they're not debriefing about the interaction and what the actual CWA has been, their feelings, what happened during that visit, how did it make you feel, how can I support you and help refill your cup after that visit. So debriefings are very key. So we want to document unusual and unsafe conditions. Again, on your tracker, you can have one little click that says, was this what type of area was this? Was it a concerning area? Was it a pleasant area? Just go ahead and click it. And if you had any, talk about that in your debriefing. I felt like this was not a safe area. And if anyone else has to go in this area, we should consider partnering up or calling our law enforcement friends to say, we're going to be in this area and we just want you to know. And of course, develop strategies to address those concerns. So if you guys are meeting weekly or bi-weekly to discuss your different cases or your different families, then talk about the concerns of those home visits so you guys can strategize on how you're going to deal with that. Remember, in one of our sessions, we did the training on unconscious bias, and I told you to call yourself out on, if I'm dealing with a family that I've dealt with so many times to I can't see them any other way, then that's the time to say, hey, someone else might want to engage this family because I'm not mentally ready yet to engage them or see them in a different light. But that doesn't take you off the hook. You still have to work on yourself so that you can advocate properly for that family. But it's great to know that you can't do it right then. Call yourself out on it and engage your team to help you with it. Now, other items to consider. So when you're building out your plan for your team, think about this. What to do if a crisis arises? What's going to be our plan of action? What to do if we're confronted by a strange or vicious dog? I actually found a couple of different resources that are out there when they're talking about engaging or approaching strange or vicious dogs, what you're supposed to do. And the first thing that came out to me was one resource said, make sure you protect your neck. So I definitely want you to research and see what works for your team when it comes to dealing with things like that. Also, what does home visit attire look like? So it might be, hey, if I'm coming into office and I know for a fact I'm going to a home that, might not be the best, I want to wear my Sunday's best to, then make sure you still dress presentable. But make sure you also let the office know, hey, this is going to be a home visit day for me. So I have my sneakers on, or I have my low flats on so that I can make sure that I'm safe. When it's time to leave, I can get out and I'm comfortable. Also, make sure your team addresses what is a home visit health protocol. So is your team still going to say, hey, though in the office we're not wearing masks, when you go on a home visit, again, we don't know the environment we're walking into. We might want to say, when going on a home visit, wear your mask. Make sure, my dad has this real bad for us. In every vehicle, there are 2 bottles of hand sanitizer. So it's like almost immediate. When you get in the car, you're putting hand sanitizer on. So make sure your team has hand sanitizer. Make sure your team if you're utilizing your phone to show families information on the internet, make sure you're sanitizing your phone. We tend to forget to sanitize our phone frequently. As much as we use it and as many services as we touch, we forget that our phones need to be sanitized too. So have the little wipes ready to go in your car. So those are some things that you guys might want to consider when you're building out your plans. So let's get started with our activity. What are other safety tips we must consider when developing a guide for CWAs? So I want you to think about it. What are some things that I didn't talk about in this presentation that we should consider, or you would want your team to consider? Because again, remember, I want you guys to come up with a plan of action for your individual school systems or sites so that you know exactly what the expectation is for your staff now and incoming staff to come. but also I want to take that information and add it to our reference guide. Remember, it's digital now, so that we've made it a live document for you. And this is something we would want to add to it. And again, it'd be something you can add to or take from, but I want to make sure that we all have some type of skeleton to build on. So my question to you, you can go ahead and unmute or add it in the chat. What are other safety tips we must consider when developing a guide for CWAs? Now, I know I did a lot of research. Y'all making me feel like I found everything. I know I didn't. Come on. Oh, let's see here. Ms. Stewart says we always have a male and 3 people. So let's see here. Tracy Barber says for those with multiple vehicles, you may consider using the least attractive vehicle for home visits. That is so true. My dad used to tell me all the time, here, take my truck. Because we don't want to be flashy when we go into some of these neighborhoods. That's absolutely correct. So that also makes me think about the jewelry we wear, right? We might be super excited, just got engaged, you put 2 carats on it. Don't wear those 2 carats to the home visit. Show it off at home. Let's see here. Is there anything else that we should consider that I didn't have in the presentation? Selection of shoes. Exactly. We want to talk about making sure that it's comfortable. Our shoes are comfortable. We want to make sure that they're not flashy, because you don't want to get jacked for your shoes. But we want to think about that. Second language families. Yes. Thank you, Ms. Bunch. If you've done your homework and you realize you're dealing with a family where English is the second language, consider partnering up with someone who speaks fluently in that family's language, or downloading an app that allows you to translate. And with Google, you don't have to download anything. You can just go to Google Translate. Think about the rapport you would build with a family when they know that you recognize and respect their first language or their culture, and you're willing to work with them so that they can really get the information. And if you already know like I said in the beginning, prior to going, research the family. So I know that the communication I bring should probably be written in Spanish. The translation should be in Spanish. And if that's the case, make sure that when you're building out your plans give you that option as well. Is there anything else we should consider? If you wear a lanyard with an ID card attached, consider a lanyard with breakaway feature. Very nice. Let me see. Yep. I had to think about what's on my ID. And I do. Breakaway feature. All right. So let's see here. Do we have any more input on this? Because again, I want to be able to take your ideas and add to what this presentation, but also as you start building your own, please share them with me. And then I'll compile everything that's been shared. And what we'll do is revisit this. So what I want to do is take it to LACLAP, actually. Once we compile it all, put it together and present it to LACLAP, let them visit as well, because I like the idea of including your professional organization as well to support this document. And then we can add it to our guide. Dr. Moore shared tone of voice. Exactly. Remember, I had told you we can't control the environment we're walking into in this instance when it comes to home visit, but you can set tone and atmosphere by your tone of voice. Just because they're up here and they're angry doesn't mean you have to meet them up here. You stay calm, you maintain a medium tone throughout your visit. All right, thank you guys so much. Let's see here. Do you have any questions about anything we've discussed today? I know I've already received some emails regarding the opt-in. So I'm going to make sure everyone, if you go back to the, I'll make sure to send you the email address. I'll send that out to everyone as soon as we end. Let me type it in the chat box. So this is what you're going to send. attendance@lsu.edu. And all you're going to do is, once you know, like, make sure you can make the commitment, because it is a commitment. Everyone else, we're joining the calls, that's great. But if you want to be a part of the opt-in crew, you have to be able to make all 3 sessions. You have to be able to do all 3 office hours and be committed to creating a successful plan for your district. And it's going to be yours to keep, for yours to print, yours to add to whatever book that you need to for your system. So, so that's the email that you're going to use to send your intent. And I would say your subject line, opt in, all caps, opt in, and give your school system. So if your school system is Bossier, say opt in Bossier. And in that email, hey, we would like to opt in to the Toolkit training. Please remember, the Toolkit training is for everyone. You all as CWAs are members of the Louisiana Attendance Alliance. So you'll be able to get the information, but those who opt in will get more support when it comes to the utilization of these toolkits. Now, if you know me, you already know I've already thought out this process. So I have other things in the works when it comes to getting more support when it comes to our evaluating these tools and making sure that we're really using practices that work. So if you don't have any questions, let's go straight to our updates. Next month's meeting will be September the 7th, but I did want to make sure you remember that the School Safety Summit is August the 4th. So that is tomorrow. If you have not registered in the reminder email, I sent you guys a link to the page that gives you more information and an opportunity to register. Also, Attendance Awareness Month is September. Let's make a big deal. Let me tell you how big of a deal I made this. Proclamation has been written. Proclamation is being sent to the governor's office. So we want to make this a statewide proclamation from the state, from the governor. So this is going to be a big deal. We also have STAR. I want to remind you about STAR. Remember, I told you that a task force was being developed. They had their very first meeting last week, and it was absolutely amazing. Some of your colleagues were able to join that session as representatives for different entities that are part of the STAR task force. And so STAR is success through attendance recovery. And what I wanted to share with you guys is that, let's see here. In regards to STAR, I want you all to remember that many of the initiatives and policy changes you want to see they are going to help give recommendations for those. So again, if you see something, you want to make changes, send me an email, or else once they send out who they publicize who your STAR task force members are, if you have connections to them, let them know, hey, I'm invested in what it is you guys are trying to accomplish, and this is what I'd like to share. Let's see here. Will there be a social media toolkit around Attendance Awareness Month that we can push through our social media platforms? I am working on that now, you guys. So I've already had a meeting with our PA team, and I'm putting together a social media toolkit. So utilizing the tools, of course, from Attendance Works. So if you're already trying to create something right now, utilize what Attendance Works has as well. But I've given them the link to Attendance Works, and I'm also looking at language I'd like to come from LDOE to create something that works for you. So you'll have digital things to download and print off or put onto your own social media as well. Also, huge shout out to Point Capee. Point Capee is about to do something so innovative. You know how kids get these yard signs for, my kid goes to, or my kid is graduating from, or the yard sign that says that, my kid has a 4.0. Well, they're going to have attendance related yard signs. And I thought that was such a dope idea. How awesome would it be if neighborhoods had signs that said attendance matters here, or attendance matters to this family, to this house? That would be amazing, a great way to push out what it is we're trying to convey. So consider that. Consider making that a part of your campaign as well. If kids have shown up every day the month of August, or that first week of September, or however you want to do it, make sure they got a yard sign, or make sure at that school, or you could say, hey, we can't print out that many signs, but if we have 10 schools in our system and they've all hit their attendance goal, give them a sign to put out in front of the school. This school values attendance, or however you want to do it. That would be a great thing to do to promote attendance, but also to kick off Attendance Awareness Month. Also, remember the Toolkit training with LSU's SRAC begins at our next call. So our next call, September, October, November, those calls are going to be all Toolkit related. Also, and then in December, that's when we're going to do a piece on resources. So I'm going to have some individuals and organizations to come on in the December call to give us amazing resource information, because we already know November and December, that's when kids really start not coming to school, and it has to do with mental health and different things like that. So we want to be able to have resources and support, so when you go on home visits, you have something to offer that family. Also, I sent you the brochure for the IADTP annual conference. Remember that. One of the things that I didn't add on here, but I'm definitely going to put a reminder up, is please make time to attend the Louisiana School Law Workshop. So I'll send out information about that as well, so you can register. I think it's a great thing, because the attorneys at Hammond, Seal, Atkins, Guys, Noah, and Perkins, they do an amazing workshop. My first year here, I reached out to them, and they were super excited that our team wanted to join and be there. And the information is invaluable. They really go into depth of things that you need to know in regards to legal matters. So I would say definitely have a representative from each system. Try to make this if possible. And I'll send this information out to you if you haven't received it already. So if you have not heard it today, you are absolutely appreciated. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing. Thank you for being super innovative. I've seen so many things come into my email. Ascension, they have their matrix plan down pat. When I tell you it's comprehensive, it is comprehensive. Reach out to them. Hey, what did you do? So I want to send a shout out to them. Again, if you haven't had your first meeting, look out to what Tangible Hoa did. Think about in our last session, who we talked about need to be at the table. Get them to the table. Let's talk about attendance, so we know that we can do great things. I promise you, I'm working on making sure our data is going to be more transparent. How we are looking at chronic absence, where the data can be found. You don't have to look for it. We're going to make sure you can get to historical data. So please, please, please send me your ideas, send me your concerns. I promise you, you are not getting on my nerves when you email me and you tell me you're concerned about something. It is my job to advocate for you as you are advocating for families and students across the state. Again, you are appreciated. The work you're doing is valued. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much. Have a great day. You have 10 minutes to yourself. Now, what is National Child Welfare Attendance Day? Okay, so not familiar with that. There is a child welfare and attendance when it comes to like child protection services. And that's something that I also look at too, because they celebrate the same month as us as well. And they have amazing resources, which I'm going to share with you guys in September as well, when it comes to how child welfare workers should decompress and concerns that have been in the field when it comes to that type of work. It also is beneficial for the work that we do as well. Like, we don't go in depth as to what they do in terms of dealing with adoption and foster care and different things like that, but we do deal with attendance. We do deal with those students, that population. And so that's what that is. But National Attendance Month, Awareness Month, is what we're working with. And that's what we're promoting, because we want to make sure that Louisiana improves when it comes to our student attendance data. We want to, truancy is still an issue, although we don't push it, because we know if we deal with chronic absence, truancy is going to go down. So let's look at how we're looking and talking about chronic absence so we can address truancy and we can address the daily attendance rate. Okay? All right, you guys have a great day. Take the next 8 minutes to yourself. Give yourself a hug if you hadn't gotten one today. Go look in the mirror and tell yourself you love yourself, because, hey, you're worth it. If you haven't heard it today, like I said, I think I said it like 3 times already, but you really are appreciated. All right, have a great day. Talk to you soon. Bye.